Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to a new video. We're sitting down to, well, standing up but this is like a sit down video of a response to a frequently asked question. There has been quite a number of people asking me how I got into real estate and why, and I think the why is not as much is not as important as the how, because I think when I look into this question, I feel like what you are actually asking me is how you can get into real estate. So that's what I'm going to answer. But I feel like I have been overthinking this video for a long time, which caused me to procrastinate and take way too long to film this little piece of information. I will give you a bit of a brief, hopefully brief, background as to like how I eventually got into real estate, because it was a very long journey. I will try to sum it up as quickly as possible in this video, and from there I will then explain to you the steps that you can take to get into real estate as a business. So without wasting further time, let's get right into the video. Okay, so a brief summary as to how I got into real estate, or what sparked my interest in real estate as a business. I feel like we've all been I'm out of breath. It's been a hectic morning. I feel like we've all been at a place where we were browsing Property24 or private property for these million rand listings without even 1 million rand in our accounts, and we would like, well, let me speak for myself, I would like suggest renovation ideas as to what I would do if I had to like move into this house. I'd be like, my headboard would be this side. I wouldn't add curtains to this room because the backyard is like just an open field. I'd get a queen size bed closet. I'd put all my sneakers here, all my heels there. I would just tear down the tiles, and all white tile, large mirror with lights. So I would just throw out suggestions here and there as to what I would do to the house if I found myself living there, or if I found myself buying that house. And yeah, I would just like scroll. I feel like it was inspirational for us. That's where we drew inspiration as to life has so much more to offer. And I did that for quite some time, and I knew which houses were on the market and for how long, and which houses had been pulled off the market and when they came back. And I would ask myself, okay, was the house bought? Because normally when it's under offer, they put a little sign on the corner that says under offer or sold, or sometimes the house would just disappear from the market, from the website, and then it would come back about 5-6 months later. So I was like, I paid a lot of attention to what was happening on the website, because I felt like for me it was like that's where I drew my inspiration. I was like literally shopping for my house that I'd buy in the next 10 years or something like that. So yeah, I went through the website quite a lot, and I was very intrigued by like when you scroll down to the page and you find contact agent, and there's a picture of a lady or a gentleman with their number and their email address and stuff. And I was like, how do you become this person? I want to become this person. Like, what is this thing called? I didn't even know it was called a real estate agent at the time, but I was just like, you know what, I want to do this. What does it take to do this? That time I am studying financial accounting. I'm on my 3rd year, my finance degree. And yeah man, I'm just thinking like, what does it take? Like, what do you need? What is this job even called? I want to sell these houses, what do I need to do? So the internet back then, I feel like I make myself sound so old, but I'm not exaggerating. The internet wasn't as popular back then. Like, all we had was Facebook, and Facebook was just for family members and old schoolmates, just for you to keep in touch, with people that and a couple of strangers that like your pictures now and then. So it wasn't a big deal. We didn't have Instagram, we didn't have TikTok, we didn't even have Snapchat at the time. Oh, we did have Snapchat, and I had just figured out how to use Snapchat at the time, so which is crazy. And I feel like I'm making myself sound so old, but the social media life is a more recent thing. So I would ask myself, what does it take to do a job like this? I'm already on my 3rd year of accounting. Management accounting has kicked my And you know what, I feel like I've already come this far, and I didn't come this far just to come this far. I'm going to complete this degree, and then after that I'm going to study something that has to do with selling houses. Like, I didn't even know what I needed to be studying at that time, and Google wasn't providing me with the necessary information. Maybe it was, I just wasn't understanding it, or it just wasn't as clear as it is now. So I had a bit of a tough time getting that information. Fast forward to the time when my husband and I back then were ready to purchase our first home, and he tasked me. He knew I stayed on Property 24, and he tasked me. We got the whole pre-approval thing, and he tasked me. He was like, look for something that you like in this area. And that was the biggest dream for me. I was just like, finally I get to like view these houses with the intention to buy, of course. We looked for the houses, or I looked for the houses, and I would send him a couple of pictures. He's like, yeah, you can go view this one. I went, and throughout the whole process I came across quite a number of different types of agents. By that I mean, I came across people who answered my questions thoroughly, no matter how many times I would ask one question no matter how many times I would ask one question, just out of curiosity, or just out of like really just wanting to know and not understanding the previous answer. They would continue to answer it without being impatient or saying things like I said, or as I've said before. I hate that phrase. I hate it so much, because then it's like you're making it seem like angizwa, you know, like, let me reiterate because I said this before, let me just say it again. So I hate that phrase a lot, and I feel like it makes you seem like you're not really paid, you don't really, like, you've answered this before, why do I need to answer this again, you know? That's, and you know, property is like a very big purchase for individuals. So I feel like however many times they want to ask that one question, you're going to answer that one question, even if you have to answer it 5 different ways for them to finally get it. Do that, but don't make them feel like they're stupid for asking it multiple times. So I've had experiences with agents that felt like I was asking too much of the same thing, maybe, or that I was, you know, I've explained this before, why do I need to continuously explain it? And yeah, man, it made me so uncomfortable, which led us not to buy the property. And I've experienced agents that were like rushing through the viewing because they needed to get to the next one, and nalapho, you know, this is a big transaction for us, you're not going to rush us. Finally, we experienced like an agent that was so patient with us. It was this old white man. I remember that agent till today, because we bought our first property with him, and he was so calm, he was so kind. He literally did not make us feel like we were crazy for asking one question multiple times. The initial viewing was just me, second viewing was my husband and I, and the third time we went to go see it again about like 4 days later. And the third viewing, he was like, listen, he could see that we were interested, but we were just a bit scared to commit, I guess, maybe because we thought something else would come up. And he was like, listen, this is the price, or I can speak to the owners and have them reduce the price by an additional like 50,000. And when he said that, I feel like we were like, where's the pen? Where's the pen? Where do we sign? Yes, yes, yes. I don't remember if it was 50,000 or 100,000. I think it was 100,000. It was a very significant amount, so I think it was 100,000, you know, lower than asking price. And yeah, we were like, where do we, you know, where are the forms? We already knew what we were pre-approved for, so you know, we knew we qualified. It was like low, well below what we qualified for. And I think even that time I knew not to use up that whole pre-approval amount. If you're like pre-approved for like 5 million, you don't go buy a 5 million rand house, you know. So I don't know, I think it was the accounting I think it was the accounting degree, but I knew not to like be on the max of what we are pre-approved for. So it was well below what we were pre-approved for. So we knew, you know, as soon as we sign, unless if there's somebody else that signed before us. But yeah, we knew. Even throughout the whole I think it took about 3 to 4 months of registration, the agent was still in touch with us, and I would still ask him. He was like, any questions you have, just contact me. And I took him up on that offer, and I contacted him, you know, and I asked him all the questions. And at some point I was just like, listen, can I go see that house again? Like, we were already, like, there was no turning back. Like, we were not going to change our minds about buying the house. Also legally, like, it's already at the lawyers. So there was no changing. But I don't think the intention was to change. The intention was to just go back into the house and just be in that space and be like, I'm going to wake up here every day. This is the view from my balcony. You know, like, this is, you know, I don't know, I'm gonna be driving through this driveway, child, every day. It was just the excitement. And I was like, you know what, can I go see the house again? He's like, let me speak to the owners, maybe then you can keep the key. You're not allowed to move in yet, but you know, whenever you want to go do measurements and whatever, you can just have the key with you. So I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, for like a week or two you can keep the key. And for that whole 2 weeks I went to that house every day at lunch. It was very close to my workplace. I went to that house every day at lunch, like I was going home. And I was like, so I'll be driving here every day. It was just it was excitement, and he allowed me to be excited. You know, my husband also just allowed me. I would get there, like, take pictures and be like, this is what your house looks like today. He's like, it looked like that yesterday. I'm like, I don't care, this is how it looks like today. So we need to clean this pool, we need to get somebody to come there and cut this grass, you know. Like, it was just it was the most exciting time of my life. So fast forward, we got to a point where we get the key handover. We went to the house. A little backstory to that. I'm sorry, I can't skip it. I think it was the weekend of Mother's Day. The house had registered like a week and a half or so prior before that, Sissy. The house had registered about a week and a half before that. So he took me out for lunch on Mother's Day, and after lunch we were about to go home, and he's like, let's just go see the house again. I'm like, of course, you know, I'm always down for that. And we go there, and he has the remote to the gate. I'm like, why do you have the remote? He's like, nah, I came here for the inspection at the other time. He just gave me some excuse with me, which made sense at the time. And okay, he opened the gates, we get inside, closes the gate. The windows, some of the windows were open. I'm like, why are the windows open? I was like, why are the windows open? And he's like, I don't know, let's go in and see. And then we go inside. When I open the door, I see like a banner that says welcome home, and then like some balloons that say happy Mother's Day. So it was just like, he was like, no, this is your Mother's Day gift. The house is registered. It's been like a week and a half. These are your keys. That was like one of the happiest days of my life. My in-laws came. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law came. My husband's brothers came. My mom was there, and it was just like a whole family affair. The kids were there, like my husband's brother's kids, my husband's brother's wives. Everybody was just there, and it was such a nice thing. And the agent was there for a while. They brought in like a Tupperware. Like my mother-in-law took they had planned this whole thing to get Tupperware. They marinated the meat. They came through. They made ipapa. It was like a whole braai session. They brought like a little portable speaker for us to sit outside because there was no furniture in the house. So yeah, man, agent hung out with us for a while, and then at some point I felt comfortable. Like, I feel something compelled me to ask him, like, how do you get to a point where you can sell these houses? Like, what is this job called? He's like, real estate agent. I'm like, okay. So so how do you, how do I, like, I want to sell these houses, like, what do I do? And he was like, you know what, I was in the military, I just recently retired, and I've got a brother or cousin, whatever, who owns a real estate firm, and he was just like, I must just come in, and that's all the information that I have, but I can give you his business card and you can call him directly, maybe he can help you. I was like, thank you. And he gave me the cousin's business card, who was a principal of a firm. I won't mention the real estate company. So yeah, the following week, when like everything was just back to normal and we were back at work, I called the principal, and I think he was friendly with me at first because probably he thought I was a client or somebody who was coming to buy. And I told him what the reason of my call was, and he just immediately switched up. He's like, no, he can't help me, he's busy, he's in a meeting, he's rushing to meet a client, whatever. So I called him again, and I think at that time he knew my number. He just stopped answering, and I'm like, okay, I know what these offices are, I'll just go there, because maybe we're busy. I understand we're busy as a people, maybe he forgot to get back to me. So I went to their offices and I asked the reception lady. She was very kind to me, and I was like, okay, I'd like to see so and so, who's the principal. He's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, he's around. Do you have an appointment? What is it about? And I'm like, I don't have an appointment. My name is Lindy, and we had a conversation on the phone. We just didn't finish. I just wanted to find out, so and so and so. Maybe he can just give me like 5 minutes of his time. And she got on the phone. She's like, yeah, I'm sorry, he's not available, he's in a meeting right now. Maybe I could take a message, give me a number, and he'll call you back. I walked out of that office knowing very well that this guy was not going to call me back. Okay, fine, that's okay. And I think about 2 weeks later, I'm fixing up my CV, kind of making myself look good on paper, and I certified my qualifications. I was still in the process of doing my degree at the time, so I was just like, I'll put in my subjects because I had good marks. So I'm like, okay, let's just put in like your subject list of past subjects, and I got that certified. I printed about 5 or 6 CV packs where it was like my curriculum vitae. At that time we had like first page written curriculum vitae and then personal information, then all the information, educational background, so and so. I had about 5-6 of those packs, and I made a day on the Saturday. I remember it was a Saturday. My husband was working, he wasn't home. We had already moved in, by the way. So I decided to just drive around the area. I knew where the most popular real estate offices were, so I went there. And I went there as like a job applicant. I was just like, hi, my name is Lindy. This is what I'm applying for. If you guys are looking for, salespeople for your properties, here's my CV and stuff. At that time I knew nothing about real estate, what it entailed. I just felt like they just said, here's a house, go sell it. So I printed about 6 of those packs, like I mentioned. I printed about 6 of those packs, and I actually went home with all 6. Like, none of these officers took my CVs. Most of them were like, let me just write your name and number down. And you could, like, I just felt like I knew they were not going to call me. So I wasn't going to, like, force myself into their company. I was just, I was hoping maybe somebody would be open to at least giving me information. But there was none. And fine, I gave them my number and I took my CV with, and then I went around town just looking for real estate offices. And one lady was like, oh, I'm sorry, this is a family business. I don't think we'll even if there is like a position for a new real estate agent, I don't think we would consider you because it's a family business. This is my brother, that's my cousin, that's my uncle. She literally pointed at everybody, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's fine. And then I moved on to the next office, and the lady there was just like, I don't know, I don't have information, the principal is not here. And then later on I found out that that lady was the principal of that place, but she just didn't want to entertain me that day, which is a very sad story, but okay. Fast forward, I kind of let it go, just went back to my property 24 viewing, and I was also like, my attention shifted into a new house and like how we're gonna furnish it and stuff like that, and my job was demanding whatever. Fast forward, this is not a summary, this is a full story of how you got into real estate. It's probably going to be a separate video on its own. But fast forward, my husband got like a much greener pasture. Yeah, my husband got like a much better opportunity in Centurion, and he was like, there's no way I'm not moving for this. I just don't know if we can move together. Okay, fine. Fast forward, we ended up moving together, but we needed like an agent to get us like a tenant or rent to buy, whatever option we could get. Like, we just started being out there to figure out what options were available for us, given the fact that now we need to move. And I was on the website, I was on like the property sales websites, just trying to check for the available agents, and I was looking for a black girl. I found one, but she wasn't really proactive. She wasn't giving us the service that we needed. And I found another lady who wasn't really giving us what we needed as well. And then remember time, my husband was traveling to Century. So at that time we were on the market to just kind of see what we could get, like if we were to sell, like how much money would we make back, how much would it be a loss, because like we hadn't lived in that house for, it wasn't even 3 years yet, so it wasn't a long time. And yeah, we were on the market to kind of figure out what would be the best option for us, and we decided to finally get a tenant. And the agents that I had appointed weren't really giving us, what we needed. So eventually, what we did was, I put the house up on Facebook. Get fast forward, the house was sold, and I didn't realize I had just performed real estate duties. I didn't even get paid for that, but we got like excess money, so I guess my payment was, money came back to us. Everything was done, and we eventually moved to Centurion to my husband's convenience. And I also got a job this side. Things were coming together. First evening we spent here, we looked at each other and we were like, as much as we like that house, like, this might be the start that we needed, and we both were on the same page with regards to just like how we are going to grow, how we're prepared to grow ourselves as individuals and as a force. So yeah, it was the beginning of like great things then. And I was frustrated at first. I was navigating everywhere. I don't want to be on the wrong lane, because if you know Bronco Street, it's just one lane, that way and that way. Like, there's no two ones. If you're on this one, you have to off ramp and find yourself in Joburg. Okay, fast forward, I was at work at my new job here in Centurion, and I think, oh no, so when we moved in the complex we moved into, there were like people at the gate who were selling fiber connections with Vodacom, and we're like, how much is it? They gave us the price. We're like, okay, it's doable, come install. They came through, they installed during the week, and we had unlimited or uncapped internet from that day. And I feel like that was part of like the greatest thing we could ever do for ourselves, because there's so many possibilities on the internet. So yeah, I started then searching. I went back to that whole thing of just really wanting to, like, what is real estate? Maybe like this is, I was inspired by what the houses looked like when I drove down the street. Like, these are so nice. Like, how do I get to sell here, since I wasn't able to like get into the whole business in Bronco Spread? Let's see what Centurion can do for us. I started being on the internet, kind of googling, and information was actually coming up at that time, not too detailed, or maybe I just didn't understand it, but I just felt I wasn't getting what I needed. But I was searching, I was looking at YouTube videos, I was just like reading up on the thing. And okay, fine. I was at work one time, and I think it was umsebenzi algorithm. Like, I think I was on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. I was scrolling, and then there was like a promoted post, and they were like, real estate agents wanted, no experience needed. I'm like, sorry, utingim. And I was like, okay, is it like are y'all also looking for black real estate agents, or like, maybe but fine. I saw the logo of the company. I'm like, no man, this logo is across the street from where our office building, like outside. There's like a little complex there, and then by that complex, the real estate office is there. Like, it's there. I'm not going to send you an email. I'm coming through with my actual printout. So I went and I printed out my CV, printed out my documentation, certified everything that I needed to certify. The next day, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be presentable. I made myself look good on paper. I'm going to make myself look good, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to show them that I can do this. Okay? So yeah, had my printouts ready with everything that they could ask me for, like as like per job interview type thing. And I dressed up, I put on makeup, and at that time I felt like I looked good. I went at lunchtime. I went and I found this lady at reception, and I got there. I greeted her. As soon as she greeted back, listen, I started pitching to her. Like, I probably spoke for like 5 minutes, not 5 minutes, maybe 3 but I probably spoke for like 3 minutes straight, just kind of presenting who I was and what qualification I hold, because at that time I already had my qualification in accounting, and I was busy with my postgrad. I'm working as a financial analyst. My name is so and so, I'm this age, and I'm very enthusiastic. I love beautiful spaces, I love properties. I went there, I was like, this is the only opportunity I'm going to get, and I'm going to sell myself, and they better buy it. So yeah, I went in, and she didn't even speak for 3 minutes. And the nice thing about her, that's one of the kindest ladies I know till this day, because I feel like She didn't interrupt me. She just stood there and she smiled and she just listened to me like the entire time I sold myself. And then after that, she's like, "Okay, hi Lindy, nice to meet you. Is that your CV?" I'm like, "Yes." And she took it. She's like, "Okay, so this is where," and I think maybe that was just for assurance. Like she could see that maybe kuna like PTSD, and she was just like, "So this is the box where we put in all the agent application stuff," and she gave me a form to fill in, and I filled it in with like the basic information. She stapled it on my CV. She was like, "We will be in contact." I'm like, "Okay, so how long do I need to wait to know that okay it was successful or not?" She's like, "Oh, about a week or two." Okay, fine. Within a week, I was planning to like follow up, and call them and ask Google, okay, what did I do wrong, so that when I approach other agencies, because that was like a door of like an opportunity for me to say, "Okay, it's okay, there are agencies that look for inexperienced agents and they are willing to train them." So I wanted to know what mistake I made here, so that when I approach the next agency, or maybe if I ever cross paths with you again, like what do I need to do better? What did I do wrong before? So I was going to follow up, but they called me before and they set up an interview with me. Hey, I printed another set of my CV stack with my qualifications and everything, because I don't want them to say, "Do you have your CV?" And I'm like, "No." I wanted to be ready, and like I can't afford to mess this up. And I got dressed, I looked pretty, and I asked for like a half day at work. My interview I think was like at 1, so I knocked off from lunchtime, and I went to like the coffee shop in the complex, and I just like kind of went through the internet, like what questions do they ask in real estate interviews, like what can they ask what does a real estate agent have to know. Yo guys, my search that time, I knew they wanted inexperienced agents, but I also didn't want to go there knowing nothing. So I kind of, did a bit of like background research of things that I felt like they would ask me, like what questions do they ask an inexperienced real estate agent at an interview, what was. Okay, fine. Went to the interview and I felt like it went well. They're like, they'll call me, and I was going to follow up, but again, before I followed up, she called me again and they wanted to see me again, and I went there again. And the second time around, when I got there, they asked me a couple of questions and stuff, and then after that they gave me a contract. They were like, "Okay, please read through this. If there's anything that you don't understand, feel free to contact me. I'll explain it to you, and we need this back within the next 2 weeks. Training will resume on this date at this time." They gave me timetables and stuff like that. So yeah, I got home, I read the contract. I was so happy, guys. This was the beginning of like my dream. But at that time I had started my postgrad qualification, so I was studying. I was in a new city, navigating everywhere, not knowing what way is. I had a new job. Obviously I had to prove myself at that new office, and I took on real estate. I remember I was writing exams at some point, and I was driving home after the exam at Showgrounds, and I missed an exit, and then I just stopped. And at that time I think we had load shedding. I don't know what was wrong with the network, like my phone wasn't navigating. I just parked on the highway on the left, and I just sat in my car and I started crying. I cried, and not even no, I cried, like I screamed. I screamed, guys. I screamed. I feel like I was going through like a mental breakdown at that point, because I'm like, it's a lot, it's too much. Like management accounting, but another subject is one of the subjects that I can say humbled me twice. I don't know why I went back for postgrad, but it was the worst. Not the worst per se, but like it was the toughest module that you'd ever come across. And I think I was writing management accounting, and I think I failed it. I think not fail supplement, but like it is fail. I failed it, and I had to like rewrite it again, which extended my postgrad period, my postgrad study duration to like additional 6 months, because I had to redo management accounting. So I was anxious at the fact that this is a very difficult thing. I've got like my obligations, go to real estate. I need to navigate everywhere. My phone is not navigating. I didn't sleep last night because I was studying, preparing for my exam. It was the toughest time of my life. And had I knew then what I know now, in the sense that this opportunity would still be available for me now, then I wouldn't have grabbed it with both hands then. I only grabbed it with both hands then because I felt like I cannot afford to lose this. I've been wanting this and I've just been rejected door to door. And the moment this opportunity that included me presented itself, I grabbed it with both hands and I'm like, who needs sleep? You know, sleep when you're dead. Money don't wait for no man. We are going in and we're going to make it happen, even if I'm like to pause my subjects, sub postgrad, and you know, focus on real estate. I'll do that. But my mom was like, uti wenzakalan, uti what are you pulling, uti ini, uti. So there was yo guys, it was tough. I don't want to lie, it was tough. Yeah, I think I had a mental breakdown at a highway, and they did tell me, they were like, don't stop on the highway, it's risky, you know, people will hijack you. At that point I'm like, I cannot afford to drive. Like, if I'm facing being hijacked and crashing because I'm like going through a mental breakdown with a moving car, I don't want to die, you know. So I stopped probably for about 15 minutes, and at some point I opened the door because I couldn't breathe. I opened the door and I stepped out of the car. I remember holding onto the car like this and just breathing. And then like they would like hoot at me. I don't know why. Maybe they were like, what are you doing, what are you doing? Or shame, what's wrong with her? Okay, fine. It was uncomfortable for me to be outside. Also just that of just cars passing, it makes you uncomfortable. So yeah, I got back into my car and I was just like, let me drive wherever I land, get La Bona, because clearly my navigator is not working. And the next off ramp that I got me into Centurion, but like it was a different part of Centurion. I didn't know it and I had to like kind of find my way. But then as I drove, then my navigator started then regaining network, and then I got my directions on me. Then I went home. When I got home, I took a bath and then I slept. I was like, I'm full next. I'm full next. And yeah, continued with life. I decided to like start seeing a psychologist because what the hell, like what's going on with me, like why am I overwhelmed? So yeah, if I knew that the market was slowly opening up from that moment when I got the opportunity, I would have waited. I would have waited about 2 years before I, you know, considered real estate as like a business. But here we are today. Graduated from postgrad and we conquered management accounting, and now I'm a lot more familiar with the place because, you know, I can drive anywhere without a navigator. Now I can even give you directions because I know this place. And yeah, that is how I got into real estate. It's not as brief as I thought it would. So yeah, that is how I found myself doing real estate, and it is going well at this point. There are challenges here and there, but I feel like it is worth it. It's more, apart from just being lucrative, there's a whole lot more that I gain from this business. So yeah, I guess I wouldn't have it any other way, I guess. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this video did answer most of the people that asked how I got into real estate, and I will be doing a how you can get into real estate video as well, probably shortly after this one. So yeah, hopefully this story inspires you, I guess, to, you know, not let rejection define you. I don't want to be too philosophical because this will be a long outro again. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. See you on my next one. Love you.